When I was really little, all I wanted to do was make art. All the kids would be playing outside and I would be drawing. So that's when my teacher told my mom, oh, hey, your daughter's an artist.
I think I got kind of lucky with knowing that at a really young age, and I think largely that was due to growing up in a really creative environment. Like, both my parents are artists and went to art school. I found myself drawing and sketching and just in a trance by a pen and paper ever since I was old enough to hold one, really.
It would help me concentrate. In school, like, the teacher would just be ranting at me, and I'm sitting there drawing, and the teacher would call me out and be like, Ian, are you paying attention? And I'd be like, I would say exactly what they just said back at them, and like, oh, all right, well, make sure you're taking notes. There was some despair coming out of school, honestly. It seemed directionless. I was working out of this tiny bedroom, and I had so much stuff from school and all these art supplies and a desk that I basically had, I don't know, 5 by 6 feet that are just like sitting in there and painting. And it was lonely, and it's like, how are you gonna convince somebody like, hey, come up my house, and there's this top room and my second floor, and we could drink coffee and you could talk about my art. And it's just like, I don't really want to do that with my weekend, you know?
I think at that point we weren't super specifically on track towards making a series of work that would have been worthy of like a solo show in some of the other galleries around town. So it was hard to see ourselves being able to get our work seen anywhere locally immediately, and also a lot of peers that we had from school and just peers that we saw out making work like us that are just doing it to do it and may not necessarily have the outlet or the audience. It happened like super organically because Christina was already working in a studio space for artists.
Yeah, Christina ended up getting the spot, and so when I'm moving out of my old home, I ran into the person that just so happened to be sharing that space that I didn't know about, and he told me, like, you know, they're all moving out of there. I was like, I'm sorry, what? And so immediately I was like, I'm gonna jump on this. I'm like, if this is opening up, there's no way I'm missing this opportunity. And it just so happened, I was leaving this place, it was like a door was closing and a window was opening.
I think initially our only intention was just to find a place to work. I mean, we were just working out of our apartments, and I mean, that is still very possible, but something about having a designated workspace and a community of other creative people with you there really definitely is a much more motivating factor.
The original vision was I saw that this could work as a studio. Obviously, it was open enough. It could happen. I could be working in there and it would be breathable and not horribly claustrophobic. So in this space, I wanted to get the best artists that I was working alongside in college. And the first person that I hit up was Eli McMullen. And I'm just like, hey, I had this idea in this spot, do a shared artist studio space. And if it could work out, we could do First Fridays. And we do these huge shows and kind of labor of love. Like, what do you say? And after enough PBR, Eli was like, all right, yeah, we'll do that. And I found out that Christina at the time was also thinking of going to LA. And I was like, you should not do that. And you should stay here and do this thing.
I almost like to think of it as we were like a band, and we were just starting to try to find a jam space. And as soon as we did find this space, it was great to be able to grow and create together. And then it started slowly turning into us throwing our own little shows, kind of like playing our own little gigs out of our garage.
And with our first show, it was basically everything that we had at the point. We just covered the walls with everything and opened the doors. There was people of all ages, which was really great. I didn't know that I wanted to do shows or like have a space like that until that first show, and I was like, oh wow, this is a lot of fun to just hang out with my friends and show our art and have people respond to it in such a positive way.
We, in that space, kind of compiled for our first show all of the work that we had from just the time at school and what was kind of left over, and built it up and just completely fill up the walls. And we had a little table in the middle, like little product things, and we're just like prayed that people came through. And our first show, it opens up, and somewhere around like 1,000 people came. And that compelled us enough to do the second one and the third one. And then 45 shows later and working with 250 plus artists in Endeavor Studios, and it was something transformative.
If anything, we still fit in with the general gallery vibe, but I think we're just trying to include a larger range of the style of work. In the same sense, one of the shows we had at Black Iris after moving out of our original space was called Uncommon Ground, where we got to match up artists that sometimes may not have ever thought of working with each other, but to collaborate on a piece and then display that piece as well as a piece of their own with the entire exhibition. And I think that was super cool to see people's specific art styles as well as how they would come together in a very unexpected way.
There's this drive to move forward, and seeing that there's a hunger for this type of thing that goes beyond just kind of how we want to impact the art space. It is resonant amongst people. And none of this has happened alone, not a single step of the way. It's been the most amazing team of people, inspiring, brilliant people that are all kind of brought into this singular whole and able to express and make careers out of it.
The dream of having a bigger space for not only more artist inclusion, but potential living spaces for artist residencies and classroom teaching space. I mean, that's ultimately one of my ideal scenarios, is to be in a space that's just going to attract more artists and more people, and especially in a time and place like we are in Richmond right now.